Right, Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Migration, Mike Tapp, joins us now. Mike, Mr Tapp, good morning to you. Thanks for your company. Happy New Year. First of all, can we talk, please, about this new, and actually it quite surprised me, this new announcement about the new sweeping powers to pretty much search illegal migrants for mobile phones and so on. Excuse me for thinking we didn't have this in place already. It baffles me that this is being blown up as some massive new sweeping thing when it's something so simple. Why didn't we have these powers in the first place to search migrants for phones?
It's fair that you feel like that. The fact is that's what we inherited, and over the last 18 months we've been making a lot of changes, and this was contained in the Borders Bill that we put to Parliament around 10 months ago. Today it comes into power. Now that means that anyone travelling into the UK on a smooth boat illegally means they can have their devices seized, their SIM cards seized, and that helps with the intelligence picture. Now, I've worked against criminal gangs in the past, but also in a counter-terror role, and this is bringing counter-terror powers forward to take on the smuggling gangs. It means that we'll have more information, more intelligence, so we can go after more of the vile smugglers to reduce those small boat crossings.
But these people who are crossing the channel, we've all seen the footage, haven't we, of them throwing their phones overboard, throwing their passports overboard. You can't retrieve phones and SIM cards from the bottom of the channel. So is this really the best that you've got? It's not a silver bullet, is it? Many people would be listening to you this morning saying this is tinkering around the edges yet again.
We're not claiming this is a silver bullet, and you're right that some might ditch their phones, but let's not let perfect get in the way of the good here. This means that we are enabled to seize phones, but it's not the only thing we're doing. We've seen sweeping changes to the immigration system, making it easier to remove and deport people, ensuring that it's less attractive to come here to reduce that asylum shopping, introducing and looking at safe and legal routes, but also these counter-terror powers, which ensures we have more powers to get to the smuggling gangs to reduce the small boat crossings. There's a lot going on, and there's also increased deportations. That's up over 20% to deportations and removals, I must clarify. That's over 50,000 now. We're also moving people out of hotels and into military-styled accommodation. There's a lot going on here. It's a big package, and I'm confident that over time it will have the impact that we hope it will.
Yeah, Mr Tapp, I would argue with those Labour deportations, I would argue, I've described it before as low-hanging fruits. It's the kind of Vietnamese nail bar workers who, OK, fine, they shouldn't be here illegally, they shouldn't be working illegally, but really, they're not causing much harm to anybody. I think the British public's major concern, Mr Tapp, is people from other parts of the world. So do you accept that you have more to do when it comes to deporting and removing people who the public are more concerned about, as opposed to just the Vietnamese, who really, as I said, apart from some nail bars and cannabis grows somewhere, aren't really doing that much harm in the grand scheme of things?
Well, that is criminality, and that is undercutting British workers. That's why we've seen our immigration enforcement visits and raids and arrests at the highest they've ever been in British history. So that, serves the British people, but it also takes away one of those pull factors. But I'm not stood here telling you that this is all fixed. This is all just a part of the solution, and we'll keep working hard, doing whatever it takes to secure the borders and create an immigration system that functions. And we inherited a mess. We inherited a system that had completely ground to a halt and open borders.
Is this a system that's functioning well? So this is the twice-deported Albanian burglar called Dorian Pucker. You might be familiar with his case. He's currently taunting the Home Office. He's filmed himself partying in the VIP section of a Mayfair club and posted it online. He's been jailed and deported from this country twice already after committing a string of burglaries. He sneaked back into the country on each of those occasions. He's now returned for a third time and is attempting to claim asylum, and effectively the Home Office is powerless to take action against him until that case is heard. Why can't we deport this criminal from Britain who is currently making a laughingstock of our asylum system?
Well, we are deporting and removing record highs, and a part of what we saw before Christmas from the Home Secretary is ensuring that we streamline the legal system so that there's not those loopholes, so that people aren't at the last minute claiming that they're victims of modern slavery, for example. We're ensuring that that can't happen, but of course it takes time to get that into rule changes and legislation, and I won't comment on this individual case, but of course we'll look at that.
Mr Tapp, finally, the Prime Minister said that we will begin to see evidence of asylum hotels closing in the coming months. How soon is that? Can you give us a date, roughly?
Well, what I'll say at this point is that, of course, it's halved from the peak of 400 to just under 200 hotels. We've got lots of effort going in from the Home Office and the Ministry of Defence to move people out of hotels and into military-style bases. So hotels will be closing. I can give you that absolute certainty, and more's to come on that.
And where are they going, sorry, Mr Tapp? Where are these people going from hotels to where?
We're working at opening military bases and accommodation to move people into that. So it's still humane, but it's basic, and it's not as attractive as what's being seen as people sort of going into hotels. Are
they also going into asylum council houses and HMOs as well?
The main effort at the moment is to ensure that we're opening military-style bases so that we can move people out of hotels, and we will see that happening in the coming months, and we're working hard to deliver that.
So, just to clarify, can you confirm that is a government policy, it's a priority to put these people into military bases as opposed to, say, HMOs? Because the argument is, Mr Tapp, that these people are just being moved from hotels where they're free to roam the streets into residential communities where people, to be quite frank, they don't want them there either.
The main effort of this government and of the Home Office is to move people into military bases or military-style bases and out of hotels.
OK.
Mr Tapp, just before we let you go, very briefly, are you supportive of the military action by the US in Venezuela on Saturday?
Well, what I'll say on this is it's really important for the Venezuelan people that this dictator has been removed. You know, he arrested political dissidents, he tortured, he used sexual violence. Venezuela is safer without him. What we need now is a peaceful, safe transition and democratic transition for the Venezuelan people. And we're really clear that this country, the very foundations of this country, are international law and rules-based system, and that hasn't changed.
OK, Mike Tack, Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Migration. Thanks very much. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for your company.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 73% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 73% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 extra months free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
The Guardian, and this is Sir Keir Starmer seeking stronger ties with Brussels.
Well, I mean, I'm shocked. I mean, who'd have thought that would be a thing?
I thought it was a new year, new Keir.
Yeah, right. Which bit? Well, actually, but closer ties to the EU, single market preferable to customs union, says Keir Starmer. Bear with me, this gets more exciting, honestly. So what he's saying, it's in our national interest, and we should consider closer ties to the EU, but I'm not undoing Brexit, is what he's saying. Now, the problem is, it's like, you know, you can argue the points about single market, customs union, etc., but any deal you do with the EU now, you're not going to come off well, are you? Because you're the one going to them. They're not going to go, oh, we're welcoming back with open arms. They're going to make life difficult for you, whatever way he plays it.
They won't make it easy.
And this has obviously been interpreted by both the Conservatives and Reform as undoing Brexit.
Norman, I've already been accused of being a MAGA propagandist this morning by some viewers. So my question with that in mind is, should the UK not be looking maybe to cosy up more with the United States rather than the EU?
Well, we have got a trade deal with the US, which, by the way, they're trying to renege on as we speak, because they're now coming back for more. They want us to have their chlorinated chicken and everything else. So they haven't actually enacted what they promised, which in terms of access to technology. So we're not having got the trade deal actually in force that we agreed. In the meantime, we're paying a £3 billion Trump tax by the increase in the amount of money we're giving to pharmaceutical companies, a 25% increase, which we're getting nothing back for. £3 billion it could go into the NHS. So, no, I think we need to look at our closest neighbours, because geographically it makes sense to do business with them. Our trade has dropped, unfortunately, since Brexit with the European Union. So we have to look at the national interest. Now, we shouldn't be anti or pro-Europe. We should just be looking at things from the British point of view as to what's best for this country. And clearly, dealing with our near neighbours makes some geographical sense.
OK. What about ousting me would be a gift for Nigel Farage, so says Sir Keir Starmer, Dawn. He seems to me, the Prime Minister, to kind of point at Nigel Farage all the time. During the doctors' strikes, he said, striking doctors, if you don't go into work today, you are giving Nigel Farage his wish of a privatised NHS. He always points to Farage, doesn't he?
Well, to be fair, Nigel Farage is living rent-free in pretty much all politicians' heads at the moment, because Reform are top of the polls, and despite a slight dip just before Christmas, they are still pushing Labour. I think the last poll was Labour in 4th place. But the thing is, Keir Starmer is going to say this, because he wants to stay in power, he wants to stay as leader of the Labour Party. He's not going to actually come out and say, well, getting rid of me would actually be a good idea for the Labour Party, is he? Because even though I think it probably would be a good idea, as Norman and I were talking about during the break, the problem is we're getting rid of Keir Starmer is, who do you have waiting in the wing?
Yeah,
who's going to replace him?
There's really nobody else, and it's a very, very weak cabinet. And actually, it's a very weak.
Is there nobody else?
I don't think so. I mean,
West
who would you have?
Talk of Angela Rayner.
Well, Angela Rayner, of course, is not in the cabinet anymore. She's now in the back benches. West Streeting, I don't actually rate personally. Yvette Cooper is a safe pair of hands. But, I mean, go back to the old days of people like Dennis Healy and so on. There were real talents there, which I don't see in the front bench anymore in the government, or actually in the Conservative front bench either.
West Streeting has been described as Tony Blair 2.0.
Well, I wouldn't describe him that way, but...
How would you describe him, Norman?
I would describe him as someone who wants to climb the greasy pole, and that's the priority he's got for set himself. I don't think he
applies to a lot of politicians.
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does.
That applies to Keir Starmer.
But I mean, it does. But I mean, you actually have to have politicians who actually want to do things for the country rather than just for themselves. I'm not sure West Streeting fits into that category. Yeah. However, the thing about the Labour Party is that. What do they actually believe in? I'm not clear what the narrative is. Again, Dawn and I were talking about this off air. You know, if there was a programme saying this is what we believe in, this is what we want to achieve, and this is how we're going to do it, people would either say, yes, I agree with that, or they don't agree with it. But, you know, Starmer's kind of weaving his way around individual issues.
Well, apparently that is the plan now in the run-up to the local elections. We were hearing from Charlie Rowley, weren't we, earlier on, that they've got a new comms mission. So every month there'll be a new focus on crime,
new comms issue,
education, all the way up to local elections, trying to get some positive press out there.
It's comms issue. It's not about
But there
policies.
is a comms issue, though. There is a comms
issue, but you can't solve everything simply by having a good spin doctor. You can't.
I think there's a competence issue, no? I mean, you mentioned about the quality of the cabinet, both the Tories and Labour. If you compare it to, say, again, I'll go back to President Trump's administration, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is a self-made guy, £600 million self-worth. He's managed hedge funds all around the world, worked for Soros back in the day. He doesn't need to be in politics. But he's now running the Treasury. Compare that to Rachel Reeves, who may or may not have been an economist at the Bank of England. So the contrast is stark when it comes to sort of competence and knowledge of the job.
Rachel from Accounts. Well, I mean, Rachel from Accounts is not my first choice as Chancellor, I have to say. Coming back to the story, though, which is on the Times, about Farage, I have to say that just a word of warning for those who are supporting reform, and I speak with my reform tie on this morning.
You are very turquoise,
you spotted your tie, Norman, your reform colour tie.
There's a hard lesson here from the SDP Liberal Alliance, which is opinion polls don't necessarily translate to seats seats in the Commons, partly because of the electoral system we've got. And you have, what the Lib Dems have done very successfully is actually managed to secure a large number of seats, 72 seats in the Commons, with only a relatively small number of votes. And you can get what the SDP Liberal Alliance had in the 80s was actually 25, 30, 35% of the vote and very, very few seats. In our system, you have to be able to target particular seats, and I'm not quite sure Nigel Farage has understood that point.
OK, Dawn, just very briefly, we thought this was happening already, but migrants' phones will be seized in order to catch smugglers. These are new powers coming out.
Just stop the boats. I don't care what you do with their phones, right? Just stop fiddling around the edges and just stop the... I was going to swear then. Just stop the blooming boats. This is just another one of those things. They put it out there, as you were talking about the comms issue, put it out there and it's like, oh, we are doing something, honestly. We don't... Well, and honestly, is that going to make any difference? No, of course it isn't.
Yeah, we now have permission to search migrants' coats for SIM cards.
And take phones off them, seize phones.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to read that and have exactly the same reaction. It's like, just stop the damn boat.
Sweeping new powers. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Norman.